Hello, how you all doing guys? This is Orpheus. For the last couple of days I've been watching the patterns of flying birds in the sky so that I might get some inspiration for a new deck. After a considerable amount of time, it was revealed to me that for today it is NR, it's Northern Realms. I guess it's that time of the year again. Before we take a look at the deck, let me talk briefly about the Northern Realms position in the current meta. Now, I read some posts about NR being all the way up there with Skellige at the moment, and that is simply a very biased opinion, mainly because there are many more ways to play Skellige. It's not just greatswords, but even some deck relicts like Lippi Gadmont is still definitely playable. When I tried to come up with a Northern Realms deck, I tried Stockpile, and it's not super bad, but it cannot keep up with most of the meta decks out there. I tried Mobilization with Siege, but it got a lot of issues with overcommitting, and if your opponent tries to bleed your deck out, you are pretty much screwed. Now, I'm aware there are several inspired Zeal decks out there, all pretty much the same. And while Ildiko and Viraxas goes really well with Prince Ansis and Seltkirk, those cards, in my opinion, does not yield as much value, so they can be considered strong carries, or OP in any sense of that word. And so I backed down a little and went pricing. In my humble opinion, Uprising is still pretty much the one and only Northern Realms leader's ability that you can achieve consistent winning with, in pro rank obviously. Visegerd is still the man. I've seen some of the decks out there adding Olgat, this card here, one of the Master Mirror additions to the game, and it caught my attention, so I tried it out. It's not bad at all. But for 10 provision cost, I'd want a card that adds a little more value to my deck, especially if the deck has a lot of other options to boost something up. And if you don't play Olgat in the first round, if you didn't draw him or something, he just becomes a nuisance, so I went with other options here. Let's take a look at the deck. In comparison to most Uprising decks out there, several cards in this one I'd say kinda stand out. First of all, Irden used to be in almost every deck about 2 patches ago. Now it is a much rarer sight. Needless to say, goes really well against tall units, Skellige or monsters these days especially. There's also a Botchling, which is a card that for some reason I see almost never, but is usually worth more than 10 points in each game, unless is your opponent willing to sacrifice some card removal on him. There's also Black Rayla, same as Botchling, but she's even better, 2 points of damage per turn in most cases. I play her almost exclusively in the decisive round, when she is protected by Donimir, the defender. 12 gold cards in this deck. Strategy wise, it's important not to overcommit in the first round. You might not win it, but if he won the first round and tries to bleed you in the second, he usually ends up in card disadvantage going into the third round, because this deck can yield an incredible amount of points if working correctly, while staying considerably within the reactive aspect. Yeah, obviously, when it comes to counters, this deck goes really well against Skellige, against Scoia'tael, against Syndicate, against other Northern Realms decks, and needless to say against monsters as well, really. But on the downside, you may have a hard time against a highly reactive Nilfgaard deck. There are many ways for Nilfgaard to remove your defender in the decisive round. Finny van Morlehem and Yennefer's Invocation, just to name a few. And if your melee row, usually, stays unguarded, it's not that hard for Nilfgaard to destroy enough of your carries that you simply cannot keep up with the number of points on your opponent's side of the board, especially if you didn't draw a good set of cards. As of now, I have around 50% win rate with this deck against pro rank Nilfgaard. Honestly, I think it's even 48% or something like that, below average. But the reason it goes really well against pretty much all the other factions is why I decided to show you this one. If you don't believe me, if you think I've gone crazy, let me prove it to you. I kinda hope we'll go against Nilfgaard, so that I might show you even against the Black Clads, the game is still winnable. Anyways, please make yourselves comfortable and let me show you how can the alliance of Gwent, Maria, Redania, Lyria and Aedirn. Did I forget something here? No Koviri in this alliance, I think. Let's go! May have forgot about Sintra, but is this happening like before or after the invasion of the Black Clads? Anyway, we are playing a Uprising Mirror. That's not surprising, but we don't need obviously two tridems here, and I don't feel like I need the Sintrian Artificer, Black Ryla, good, and I don't need to smoke them out.
If the king demands a head, I'll give him yours.
Will he start with like the boiling oil? No, Karak frigate right away. That's good for us, I think. Or is it? Cimmerian Drummer, the card that's provision cost has been changed from 6 to 5 and it's been nerfed a little, I'd guess, but still a very good way to go with 5 provision cost.
Succession. What succession? The throne will be mine.
He doesn't have any poisons, I think. So yeah, let's protect Egmont from the boiling oil. Anna Stranger. So far he's playing only cards I do possess as well in my deck. But I suppose there's gonna be some differences. I don't think he's going Black Rayla or Botchling or even Erden. You know, let's go Cimmerian Drummer as well.
Left, right.
What did just happen? Oh yeah, he unboosted Anna Stranger here.
Fall overboard and I'm not
Am I passing here? I don't think it's that important to have a last say in Uprising Mirror, but then again we have Erden, so it might be worth fighting in the first round. One Lyrian Sightman and I'm off.
This harvest will be reaping black clad heads. Awaiting your orders.
Okay, 4 points ahead, with some boosting going on both of our sides. I think I'm gonna pass here, just to stay a little on the safe side. Maybe I'm gonna regret it, but I don't know yet.
My spirit's willing and how, but these two
Yeah. pretty close. We've committed pretty much the same. 2 7-point provision cost cards on each side. So we are not out in the clear yet, obviously. He's passing right away. So that means we'll have to go with the smoke them out card, because not really other way to approach for us here, because all of these cards kinda have their specific function in the long third round, which is what's gonna happen now, with him obviously having a little advantage because he's got the last say in this game. Nice. Let's risk it. Good, because now I can play Donimir with Amphibious Assault, and I can play Irden if I want to with my Royal Decree. Perfect, actually. So let's go with Donimir right away, I think.
You'll never need ask me twice.
Korathi Heatwave, now that I didn't expect. But I guess that's how it is. I still kinda am afraid that boiling oil is coming up pretty soon, so I'm just gonna boost Rayla for 6 points here, so she does stay alive. If he's willing to commit his boiling oil on Rayla. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Dark clouds gather over Temeria.
So 12, 10, 7 and another 10.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing. Discipline shall bring us victory.
Boiling oil. Alert.
To arms!
No, I don't want. I'm going Labarkin as soon as I can, because obviously I want as many points of Erdan on his range draw as possible. It's kind of strange he went Visegard on Botchling.
First to make a noise is first to witness.
Obviously I could have spawned one more volunteer because I'm going with a GERALT on the melee row. But in case he has like something that moves my unit, this is a little safer approach and I think we're gonna be alright.
Don't try anything, you little bitch of the woods. There's a time to reap, a time to sow.
Or should we consider going Irden on the melee row? Let's see in the next turn. Or 4, 5, 7 plus 2 is 9, minus 1, 8 points of Irden plus 1. On the ranged row, 9. 1, 2, 3 plus 8. Yeah, it's actually better going Irden or his melee row.
Sintra will rise from the ashes.
Okay. Didn't see that coming as well.
Damn it.
Okay, so 15 points ahead. Is he going another later incitement? That's not gonna be enough. Yep. Here comes the Sightman and we've won actually. It was a little closer than I hoped it would be. The last save would actually mean a lot in this game. I was wrong. But we won. That's always important. With a little more of meta deck than his one. Apart from going against Nilfgaard, going Mira with this deck is the second most difficult thing to do. And I do admit that his Korathi surprised me there and it shouldn't have, as well as his Surrender. But thanks to Erden, I'd say mostly, we managed to get a little more points than he did. He played good though. Cheers, mate. Nonetheless, please guys, do let me know in the comments about your Northern Realms decks that you play currently, and also what are your opinions about this one. Please feel free to try him out. Or her. Is deck a he or she? Let me know in the comments, bros. Please subscribe to Orpheus, my fellow Gwent players. Oh, fellow Gwent players, wololo. Please subscribe to Orpheus, he's a friend of Atari.